Hello, Zareen Khan, Auntie. This is a complete pleasure to have you on Womenistan Talk Show. Thank you so much for coming for the talk show, and I really look forward to understanding the real Zareen Khan, the girl child, and your beautiful experiences of growing up, how you brought up your wonderful daughters. So, welcome aboard to Womenistan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have been a Zoroastrian by birth, and from a very young age, I guess I grew up with all the Parsi, traditions and styles and all the rest. So, but I was very artistic even from that young an age. And I remember my mother used to take me for these lovely musical evenings, which she was a member of. And I used to go with her to all the most beautiful houses of Lady Tata, Lady Duggan, and I used to be sitting there and listening to classical music, and instead of along with listening to classical music, I used to look at all the beautiful homes they had with all the statues and all that. And I always told them, I said, you know something, in my mind, I used to say, I will always have a beautiful home. From that time, I used to think, that I'm going to get a house, something like this. So from a very young age, I think my taste for interiors had developed. Anyway, I had a beautiful childhood. I must say, I was very loved. I was the youngest child. And in fact, I used to say, we used to stay in Bandstand exactly uh, beside the present Shah Rukh Khan's house.
Okay.
And my aunt still stay there, more rapport. So we used to literally play in that house. At that time, he didn't own it. It was owned by somebody else. And we used to play hide and seek in those days. I still remember. Anyway, so from there, we moved on. And, my father was the Katrak, from the Katrak. He was also from a very good family. But then we went through some hard times also. And we had this huge house in Bandstand opposite, no, not Bandstand, in Bandra, opposite the St. Peter's Church. And by and by, that had to be sold, and we moved right to Juhu in Jasala Wadi. Then Jasala Wadi, now it's called the Enclave, Oberoi Enclave. It's called the Oberoi Enclave. I was barely 13 or 14 then. And I still remember that in my school going days, I used to go to my school with my PT costume and my short, PT costumes and walk around. And the next thing I know, that this handsome family of about 5 dashing Pathans have landed right next to me. And who were they? My husband's family, the Khans. I remember there was such an uproar in the Wadi, because one by one, all of them were very good looking, all 6 feet tall and with very good features. So there was a lot of scurry with all the young kids and all that. Oh, who are these people? And I remember Feroz was a very young actor at that time, just starting. And they used to be very naughty because they were all young. So whenever I used to pass by, they used to whistle the sergeant's major's tune to me as I walked. And, it used to irritate me. And I used to look up and say, stupid, the typical young girl, because I was only 14 at that time. But there's one boy amongst all of them who never used to tease me, only used to stare at me very deeply. And of course, I didn't know then, he was my future husband, Sanjay. He was the very sober, serious amongst all of them type. Anyway, ours is a love story which I often tell my children that it doesn't happen, very rare, because it's like a picture book. So I used to read all these romance comics of those days, of all the hero with the dark hair, and the girl with the dark hair, and the villain with the blonde hair, and the villainess with the blonde hair too. I remember those young stories. So he reminded me very much of those stories. And at that age, everybody is very uh, infatuated and, all the
It's
rest.
time of
Anyway,
Betty Veronica and Mills and Boons.
Mills and Boons, exactly. So I still remember it was a Sunday morning and we decided to go for a walk on the beach. And as my friend and me, another friend whose name was also Zareen at that time, so we're walking along the beach, and right in front of us, who do we see? Is my future husband, Sanjay. He was only 18 then, and I was 40,
Oh,
barely 40.
oh, so
Can
tender.
you imagine? Yeah. Literally, I tease him sometimes. He snatched me very young, you know. So anyway, I somehow with just, I think it was just mutual or whatever. He turned around and he looked at us and he saw us, and he was way ahead. So he took a scribble, some stick from, and he wrote down on the sand something, and then looked at us as if daring for us to read it. So we got very excited. We said, let's run and read it before the wave comes and wipes it away, you know, because it was coming. So we walked on, and there we see he's written a hi on the sand. Hi. And I was very nervous, and my friend was a little more stronger than me. So she quickly took that same stick and wrote a hi back on the sand. So it was literally like a, you know, a storybook story. So anyway, I was very nervous, and I was only barely 14 that time. So I said, let's turn back and go. I'm very nervous. I think what will happen and what have we done and this and that. Anyway, we turned around and were walking back home. In 5 minutes, I hear this very deep voice come right behind us and say, may I join you? So I looked around and turned, and there was this handsome bloke, young boy, who was my husband, future husband, Sanjay. And his deep voice, even at that, I still remember at that young age. And you know, I looked up, and I think it was love at first sight for both
You
of
went
us.
weak in the
Because
knees? Did you go weak in the knees when you saw him?
Ab- absolutely. But I think he became even more weak when he saw me, because the next thing he knew, by the time since we were neighbors, we were walking back into the wadi. So before we walked in, he says, "Would you like to have coffee with me?"
Oh,
So I said, oh, I was so nervous. And Juhu Hotel used to be there on the beach.
yeah.
So I said, okay, but I've got to be home by 7, because that time, you know, very strict restrictions. He said, okay, I'll meet you at 5 here on the steps of Juhu Beach. I was so nervous. That was my first time. And I was really, really worried, scared, and I don't know what. Anyway, I was literally sailing and feeling very happy. And that's how our romance started. We met for the coffee, and the first thing I loved about him, he was only 18, barely 18 then, but he wanted to give an impression to me, you know. So we ordered just coffee, and when the bill came, he took out 100 rupee note. I still remember this very clearly, and gave it to the waiter. So the waiter brought back the change of 80, because the coffee had cost us 20. So very lavishly in front of me, he takes a 10 rupee note and gives it as a tip. So I looked at him, and that time I said, my God, I've landed a good looking guy, and he seems to be rich too. So you know how it is at
In
that
those
young
times,
age, you
10
get on.
rupees was like a lot. 10 rupees is like
Yes,
1,000 bucks that time.
listen to the story. It's too hilarious if I tell you. So anyway, and I was very impressed by his generosity. Anyway, as we are walking back, I'm not exaggerating. He turns around to me. We held hands and walked back. He looked into my eyes. He says, "Will you marry me?" The second day, at that young an age, huh? So I looked up at him and I said, if I feel the same after a few years, I'll marry you. He
Oh,
thought that was the most best answer he could have received. And at that time, according to what I heard later, he says, I'm going to make her mine. So that's how our love story started.
lovely.
And then when only dreams of Mills and Boons, and used to go with just dreams, he wanted to be an actor. And of course, he had no money. I came to know later on, neither any dreams, you know, just young. So we used to go for our walks on Juhu Beach and have chana and dream. But he was very, from the beginning, he had a lot of positivity in him. So as we walked along the beach, he used to look at the house. He used to tell me, which house would you like here? Point. So I used to look and say, one day I said, some house that was on the beach. I said, this one. He's this one, I'll get you one better than that.
Wow.
With nothing in his pocket, he used to talk like this, which of course made me feel even more happier with him knowing this. Anyway, it's a long story. To cut it short, then he was very lucky. He got his first break by Satyan Bose in Dosti. And to his luck, it turned to be a silver jubilee. And then Hakikat with Chetan Anand, that also turned to be a silver jubilee. And the next thing we knew that he had at least about 50 films signed, and luck just changed. He was an overnight star. And then, of course, we got married after a few years, but we were going steady for almost 6.5 years. And through his struggling days, I was with him throughout, always giving him the courage to put on his weight because he was very skinny. I used to be sitting around there by dates whilst he used to exercise and get his muscles up. And when he did everybody thought he was fantastic. He resembled that famous actor Warren Beatty in those days, So yeah, so he was, as it is, he was good looking, and he became even better looking then, So anyway, cut it short, we got married after some time, and then life was beautiful, and he was very successful. And we bought, and you won't believe, he bought me that same house. Of course, first we rented it, and then we built it, which is Sanjay Plaza today. And according to me, I think it's exactly in Silver Beach itself, the house which I liked. But I think mine is better than the one on the beach.
Wow.
Anyway, that was a beautiful thing. But life, of course, has its ups and downs. And slowly and steadily, along with the children, came the downs also, So there were a lot of downs which happened, and I braved through those times also. And all the while, my kids were growing up, and I knew I was married to an actor who loved me very much. But of course, being married to an actor is also not a very easy thing. Life has too many ups and downs, which you've got to value,
The
see.
work is
So
like a gamble. In a film industry, it's more like
yes,
a gambling thing.
exactly. So in the meantime, I decided not to be a typical, filmy wife and play cards and, at that time. And I wanted to have a career of my own. So I started my career from a very hardly when I was after 2 or 3 uh, years in my marriage, I started this. I made a company called House Beautiful in interiors. And the next thing I know is that I've started my career with another friend of mine, which fortunately for me, I started with a small little house of Mr. Manoj Kumar's, that actor Manoj Kumar and his wife.
Okay.
They wanted me to redo their house.
Okay.
So redo their bedroom. So we did the redo in the bedroom. Between my partner and myself, we only made a profit of 3,000 rupees then, which was nothing, But the room turned out so beautiful that he had Hema Malini that time, who was his actress. So she came to the house and she saw the room and she says, "Who's done it?" So they said, "I've done it." So the next thing, she cancelled her very big architects and took us over to do her entire house. So that was our first big house, Hema Malini's. Hema Malini's house was done. So Mohan Kumar, a very big producer, came to that house, saw the house, loved it. Cut it short, the next thing is I was known as the lucky designer, because when I designed homes, their movies used to go to be silver jubilees, all of them. So they, before a show, before their movies would hit the screen, literally it became so funny that they used to hire us. So I've done homes of all, from Mr. Raj Kapoor to Rajendra Kapoor to Shami Kapoor to, sorry, not Shami Kapoor, Sharmila Tagore, Sri Devi, name it all. And my career really boomed, along with my husband, who was also doing very well.
And also, Yusuf Lakdawala, my dad's friend.
Yes.
Once we met, I mean, many years, few years, moons back, at Uncle's home for dinner. And I saw the decor and I screamed out. I said, "I love it. Who has done it?" So even Yusuf.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes. So one by one, my career bloomed, and I didn't stop at there. Then I went into corporate houses. Then I did all the ITC hotels of India today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all of them. And my career really went big. And I felt very good because I was independent. My money, my husband never took any part of my money. He was the main bread earner, and he said, "Your money is to do what you did." And that's when I learned how to share my good times with others, because I did a lot, because I didn't have to ask anybody, or whatever I wanted to do, I could do freely. And hence I made friends with a lot of people out of the film industry, which was also very good. Secondly, my kids seeing their mother working, it was embedded in them that I didn't have to laze around. I was also a working woman. And I always told my daughters that whatever you may have, you must always be a working girl, or you must work, because you never know tomorrow what is your situation. So even when they were in school, even at that time, we had made it a point to send them by car, and they would come back by bus one way. So they would get the feeling that you have got to be a commoner and you've got to be able to live in any circumstances. So my kids, of course, were very they are lovely. The best thing, I think, my wealth today is my children, because I have been lucky to have them. They are, first of all, very dear, very bonded, and there is not even an iota of jealousy amongst them. They love each other with full hearts, and we are our best companions, all of us. So sometimes it's embarrassing, because wherever we go, even if we come in separate cars or separate, eventually we all group back together and sit together, which is sometimes a little sad, because I say, move, it looks very bad because we are meeting all the time. We've got to meet others. But anyway, we are a very, very bonded family. And God has been very kind in that direction. So with the result, even our lows, which were bad at times, we had the strength of the family around us. So it was very good. In the time of this whole procedure that went on, with my life, my kids were, of course, given good educations. They always knew there was a strict father also. So they never went out of bounds. They were very, very in line, even in growing years. There was never, because he always embedded in them that, you takes a very long time to get respect and only a day to break it. So remember one thing, you have to be respectful. Never allow anybody to talk against you in any derogatory way. So anyway, so we went on. Then, of course, as I said, I don't want to go into details, but there were lots of lovely times in the film industry. The film industry gave us a lot of comfort.
Family, Bollywood industry, everyone supports each other. They stand for each other. It's a close-knit
exactly.
family.
Yes, and we made a lot of friends, good friends who loved us. We had everybody besides us in times of, so it was very bonded. But then what happened, the worst part of life, of course, you can't have always ups. There are always sometimes downs also. And the down came in a very tragic incident that happened to my husband. We were making this famous serial, The Sword of Tipu Sultan. And he had just finished the first week of filming, and I was sitting in my house, and he was in Mysore, when in the night, at 10 o'clock at the night, news came that the whole Tipu Sultan floor had caught fire. 54 people died. And out of them, the most critical was my husband. And when I got this news, I was just too shocked. I couldn't believe that this has happened. So I still remember my patron saint, Sai Baba. I ran to his photograph and I pleaded with him that I want my husband back, as good as he looked, seeing his photograph. And of course, I rushed to Mysore. And what met me there was shock, because I couldn't recognize him. He was like a black man. His hair was all singed. His face was all totally swollen up to 4 times the size. And but because before I went in, the doctor said there's only literally 10% chance of survival, because he was 70% burnt, 69 to be exact. 69% burnt, only 10%. So, some inner strength came into me, and I went in with a lot of positivity. So I went and I said, hi, I said, you're looking very nice, fine, don't worry, everything will be all right. And seeing me, he also raised up, he said, yes, I'm coming back, I'm starting shooting in 1 week's time. And we played this game together, each of us, pretending that everything is going to be fine, knowing that everything was going down the drain, literally. Anyway, so those were trying times. Then, of course, I have full faith in my Sai Baba, because literally he is like a miracle man. He's come even when we took him to the, we had, of course, a lot of help. We got him back in 1 hour's time, 1.5 hours time, back to the hospital in Bombay. And to cut it short, there, an old man came to me, rushing to me as we were bringing the stretcher on which my husband was lying, all burnt to absolutely burnt. And one man comes and tells me, pulls my hand, old man, and he says, put this on him, put this on him. You won't believe. So I took that in my hand, just knowing, and I asked the doctor, I said, what's this? It was, it was some sort of a bandage, which later we came to know it was a newly thing for burn patients. So my doctor said, okay, I'll try. So one place he put the gauze, and the other place he put this bandage, which was given to me by some person. So in the morning, the gauze which was on the skin was still wet and pussy, but the one that had the bandage was a little dry. So he said, get more of this. When we went to get, who's this man, who got it? We didn't know. Nobody knew, and nobody had seen him. So I literally think that my Baba came and gave it.
Yeah.
I feel that. Anyway, we searched the thing and then we got it. And then my husband went through, I think, 110 bottles of blood, 69 surgeries. He was called the Miracle Man because, to cut it short, we had to take him to America. His hands were, because, the doctors became so possessive, they didn't allow any other doctor to take charge. With the result, his hands went bad. We had to take him there. Cut it short, there they called him a miracle man because he told the doctors, I'm going back, because his mind was on, he has to finish the Tipu Sultan, otherwise our whole fortunes would crash. So he said, I'm going to go there and ride a horse. So the doctors there smiled and said, Mr. Khan, that's going to be a long way up, But he came back, he finished the serial, he acted in it, he rode a horse and with gloves in his hands. So he is very special, and he's a very strong-hearted man.
So are you, Zareen? So are you. I would actually call you a lady with nerves of steel. So, how did you, once you give us some more details, I would like to know that internally, probably you were shaken, but then you have to put up that
because because we had to pay so much of damages, compensations. We had come to zero. Our life had come to zero, literally. But we never said die. We said we will get it back. So I held on. That time, God also gave me a lot more because my career was zooming. So I could hold on at the times and try to help in a little bit, pitch in a little bit, which of course, when good times came, my husband gave it all back, So we've been partners, I would say. And by seeing all this, my kids have grown up also very strong and very, very loving. They share their good times. We've taught everybody to share their good times with all others who don't have such times, because if you share your good times, you feel more better than hoarding everything yourself. It's not that. So we have been a modern family, but I think my kids are exceptional even to this day. I feel so proud when everybody praises me about my kids. And we have kept, in spite of, they say, none of them actually ever wanted to join films, which is because they are good. They are very pretty girls and very good, but somehow they didn't.
The girls are stunning.
So, yeah, but they've made their own careers today, they are doing very well. So I'm glad, because film industry careers are blow hot, blow down, At least now they've got solid careers. And even my son, he's in business and he tried his luck in films. He still is there, but it works sometimes, sometimes it doesn't. He's a very handsome boy. I think one of the best looking guys around. And he's with his father also till now. And we are a happy family, contented, I would say, because we don't want much. At the same time, we want love and we want happiness in shares. And I think that's the way we keep on, let our lives growing.
So as a mother, Zareen, let me ask you, when you saw Sanjay ji in this condition, how did you handle the children psychologically, the pain, the stress, the insecurities? The children must be shaken. So as a mother, you took control of the family.
Yes, I did.
Children, of the situation.
we shared our time because he was 13 months in hospital. 13
13.
months
That's
in
one three.
1 3
One
months.
three.
He was first 8 months in hospital in Jaslo continuously, where every 3 days huge bills would come. We had to sell a lot of our property to be able to pay those bills. And then the doctor became so possessive. Oh, there are very sad things. I don't want to say anything. But we came back again to the house, was sent back too soon. And then the situation became very disastrous and worse. So we had to take him back to the hospital for another 3 months. So we divided our time because I had a growing business which I had to be in. So I would go at about 6:30 in the evening and spend the night with him till morning. Then my daughters used to take over the morning charge. They used to come one by one day Simon, one day Farah. Of course, Zayed was too young and we had put him in, what is it called, boarding school. So he was not there. And even Suzanne was young, but they used to keep their turns, do whatever they could. So, as I said, all through this, I think the bond of our family became stronger. Then, as the time, I can't sit still in one place. I like to do everything one by one. So after along with my interiors and all that, which I still do occasionally, because my clients love me, even to this day. I have old clients who refuse to let go of me. Even today, they'll make special work and call me back to do those work. In spite of my two growing, my daughters who are doing exceptionally well, but they want me to be there because they're comfortable with me, I guess. That's the way it is. So life went on. We moved from time to time, and uh, my children have been my greatest support, let me say. And because they have been my greatest support, today I'm so proud. I love them so much that you can put the biggest diamond in front of me, and I mean, it just doesn't matter. All these things like, materialistic things don't matter to me. What matters most is my family and the people who are my friends, who have stood by me. I have a lot of friends who love me and I love them. And, positivity, to keep positive thoughts. But if you have positive thoughts, your surrounding becomes happy. Even in trouble, you've got to think of good things, because that success story, if you think of good things, it automatically comes. But then afterwards, you will be surprised. So my home is known for good cooking and good food, because we
Absolutely.
always lay out a
I
very
had a lavish dinner at your house, and I still remember the wonderful spread and the kebabs and the biryanis.
yeah. So we have been always known for that. And I must say thanks to my mother-in-law, because she taught me what was good cooking and how to lay it out. In those days, she used to tell me coloring is very important. You must not have all red dishes on the table. If you have a kurma that is red, you must have a dahi, something that's white, something that's green, in maybe spinach or something. So the table should look very colorful and beautiful, not all like gravies, all red gravies. So from there, I learned a lot from her. And I used to be a very sharp young girl, I think, because when I was only 14 and she was such a good cook, I used to take down, I was a very good eater because I was a sports captain. You had a very voracious appetite.
But you were
So I
a
used
very
to,
gorgeous model too. So if you were a
yes, I
voracious
was also
eater,
a
you were
model. Yes,
so
I
stunning.
forgot to say that. I was a
So
model.
stunning.
In fact, I was asked by Hartnell, who was the Queen's designer then, to go and model for 2 years in London. So I must tell you this. I was so excited. I ran to at that time we were not married, just going steady. So I ran to my husband and said, I've got a 2 year contract in London. I'm going. He was very sad, very quiet. And he says, well, make up your mind. Either you go to London or you have me.
Oh.
And I decided to choose him, which I'm so lucky, because Persis Kambata was that time my contemporary, and they went to London. And I'm so happy I stayed here and got my kids and him. So it was a good decision I made. My husband was very conservative, let's put it that way. So I started my career by 14 in modeling, and because he used to be very upset even when I went for one modeling or two modeling. So by 17, 18, I had given up my career. And by age of 19, just entering 20th, I got married. So it was a journey with him more than anything else. But in the meantime, so I used to write down all these notes of the food that my mother-in-law used to prepare. And when we grew up, when my children got married, I gave them all a copy of the saved, menus of mine, which they still have till today. So whenever they used to entertain, their people used to say, "This is not fair," because they used to send food from my house sometimes, that time, because my cooks are very good, they're all trained. So their friends used to tell them that, "What is this? Your mother never invites us, so we are missing out the food. Why don't you tell her to write a book?" So my daughter Suzanne insisted I should write a book. So since I had all these notes properly, I took the trouble to have it photographed and wrote a book, which is the Khan Family Secrets. This book turned out to be a super duper success. It in 2016 in the Gourmet Awards, World Awards, it got the first prize in what was it? First prize in in food entertainment. It was something very beautiful because it's a very beautiful book and it's turned out very good. So I even went into that. Then after being so successful in that, I had some TV people come over to me and say I should do a show of cooking. So I even got into that and did a 14 episode show, which these people lifestyle kept on putting it so much. It went all over America, it went to Iran, so I sometimes have very amusing incidents when I'm traveling to Europe. And when I'm nicely settled in my first class compartment, lying down, the guy next to me said, "Bagara Bangan."
Oh!
Can you imagine? I was shocked. I said, "You read my book?" He said, "Yes, and I've even tried it." So you see, it's become quite popular, and I feel very happy about it. So let's say I've tried my hand in
Persian
everything.
food. Did you write about Patrani Machi or Salli Boti?
Of course, of course.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna
we
get
have,
that book.
come,
Is it
come,
on
and I'll
Amazon?
send you
Is the book available on
and
Amazon?
I think so. Yes, it's available on Amazon. And also, but I'll give you a signed copy. I'll tell my sec to send you one. And also, in our house, we have Mughlai food, we have Parsi food, we have continental food. We are all foodies, frankly speaking. My husband hates to go to restaurants. He thinks the best food you get in the house. So we need a change of menu. So every time we are trying out new dishes, making it, but our table is always well spread. And whoever comes has to have food with us and go. I believe you must share your food with your friends.
You must
and
break your
yeah,
bread. Like they say, break bread.
yes, yes. So I have dabbled in quite a lot of things, and by God's grace, been quite successful in that. And today, of course, I still don't give up. I am helping. I go around with my daughters. We travel all over. We travel to twice a year. I go to all the fairs, interior design fairs in Milan and in Paris. And so it's a bonding. Besides being bonding with my children, I'm also very active. I keep myself very active. And you'll be happy to know that my friends are from my age to my daughter's age. They love me. They enjoy my company. In fact, some of them enjoy my company, and I meet them even more often than some of my daughters who are too busy. So it's like that. So it's one happy family, which I feel very good.
That's good. That's lovely.
Um,
That's really nice.
and I'm happy that I've come here on your show today, and I hope it turns to a bigger success always.
Yes, thank you so much, Zareen. Please do let me know as to something for our viewers, that how women should really understand the importance of financial stability, and how as wives they should stand by through thick and thin for their husbands and be there for them. Few pointers.
Well, I would like to tell my viewers that first and foremost, every woman should have a career of her own. Whatever it is, whether she takes up sewing, and today a lot of women are doing the same. And you must, that is, you must teach your children also that they must have their own careers. They must be independent from a young age. So they are not totally dependent on their husbands. Believe me, you've got to be a friend to your husband, not a housekeeper or a person who's only looking after the house and looking after him as one would a maid. That's not right, because usually what happens in India, in very conservative families, they literally get boys married so that the girl can work in the house.
Yeah.
So you've got to be strong enough to avoid that. And like I was pretty strong, because even in our family, my in-law family was very conservative, so they didn't like working out and all. But I managed to ride over that. So you can't say no. You've got to be a little strong. You've got to do what you feel is right, as long as it's right. If you are right, then nobody should. I may be very soft like this and gentle, but I'm also very tough. If I think that something is right, and if somebody tells me 200 times that not to do it, I'll become more stubborn and do it. I will follow my mind. So you have to follow it, but follow it rightly. And all of the ladies, please, please have a career of your own. Teach your children to have a career of their own, so they are fully independent of their husbands.
Amazing. So tell me now about your relationship with your daughter-in-law, and how important it is for a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law to keep that little line of respect, not crossing it, and also maintaining like a very good relationship between
Mehnaaz, you must ask my daughter-in-law this question, because I'm very proud to say she tells me she loves me equal to her mother today, because I have not even made one little small difference between her and my girls. The four of them, I consider them my children. All four. Mali, Malaika, she's a darling child. She's one I have been very fortunate to have. She also is not the type that is all the time wanting this and what. She is again from Gujarati father and a European English mother, but lovely, lovely human being. I treat her like my own. In fact, I tell all mother-in-laws, because I find a lot of mother-in-laws get into competition with their daughter-in-laws, which is very unfortunate, because we can't be like them, because they are
a
almost
message
20
for all
years.
the mother-in-laws seeing the video show, that how it is to keep a good great rapport with your bahu.
My God, because you've got to treat them as your own. And today I will be very openly say that my girls love their sister-in-law so much, and I'm not lying, that if she has a fight by any chance, she doesn't, but if she has an argument, I will vouch for it, they'll take up for her rather than their brother. They are that strong. They are very bonded. That's why we see in our pictures, she's always there with us. Malaika, she's given me two lovely today, by the grace of God, I've got 7 grandsons and 2 granddaughters.
Wonderful.
And they also bond very well. And I hope, inshallah, God bless them all. And they also come up to be good human beings, because that's the first important thing. Be a good human being. Care for people. Care for the have-nots. And share your good times with others. Don't be selfish and only have it all, whether it's a diamond or whether it doesn't. After all, they're all stones, believe me. Okay, you can't say you don't want it. It makes you look pretty. Okay, keep a little, but don't go overboard. If you can help a friend in that same amount who really requires, do it. That's what I would say.
Like
Because
they say that you have been like a rock of Gibraltar for your husband and your family.
Yes,
so you've been that rock that they've stood up, and you've been there for the family, which is why I say you're a woman with nerves of steel. I mean, seeing your husband going through that process, there would be so many women who would just want to get away and move on in life, but you stood there like a rock of Gibraltar for your family. Hats off to you, Zarina Appa. So proud to have you on my show, and my complete love to all the children, to Zaid, to Farad, to Simone, and all the grandchildren. Lots of love. Look forward to when I come to Mumbai. Hope to catch up with you.
Inshallah.
Be safe and lots of love. Thank you once again. And a short note for
we'll meet up.
Some very cute message for my viewers. One quick message for Womanistan.
For Womanistan, I can tell you that I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you all have learned something from it, that, materialistic things. There's a very famous saying that do not cry for things that don't have a soul. So if you know what that means, don't cry for things that don't have a soul, and you will be happier in the longer run. So be happy, stay positive, and I end with all my good wishes to all of you.
Thank you. Love you so much. Thank you, Zarina.
Love you too. Okay. All the best. Bye.